Ready? Hey guys, just waiting for get you the heads up from my producer there. I am Dr. Joe Esposito. Glad you could be here. If you're new to the show, welcome. What we do is we do two 24-minute segments. I will talk for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, can type in any health questions you might have. At the break, I'll answer any questions that you guys come up with, and then I'll do another 24-minute segment that I'll answer more questions for you. So this is a great opportunity, a rare opportunity, for you to actually talk to a doctor and get advice. Because normally you can't even get appointments, much less get to talk to somebody. So for you, your friends, your family, if you have any healthcare question, just type it in. Allison, my producer behind the camera there, will ask them to me, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. So if you are ready to rock, Allison, I am ready to rock as well. Yes? Hey folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am so glad you're with us today. What we're talking about today is we're talking about natural ways to get energy. How many people want that? Raise your hands. How many people are too tired to raise their hands? I know a lot of you are, right? So we're going to talk about natural ways to get energy. Question I get all the time is people say to me, Dr. Joe, how do you have the energy that you have? We host what is now the largest health and wellness radio show in the world as far as I know. I run 4 offices. I have a life, and then, of course, management of all that. And, I write books. I have supplements. I've got a pretty busy life, do a lot of lectures. And it's not any secret, and I'm going to share those secrets with you today because it's not a secret. There are things that you can do to get your body functioning at a much higher, more efficient level. And that's what I want to teach you today. How do you get to that level of energy, that level of clear-headedness, that level of no brain fog, and get excited? And every day, people come to me and say, first of all, what do you get your energy? And what can I do to get that kind of energy? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So number one, of course, I think the most obvious one is not getting enough sleep. Now, it seems obvious if you get too little sleep, but that can negatively affect your concentration and your health. Adults, depends on the person, 6, 7, 8 hours a night. I usually get 7. That seems to be my magic number. I wake up, no matter if I go to bed early, I wake up at 7. If I go to bed late, I wake up at 7. Every now and then, on rare occasions, I'll get 8. But generally speaking, 7 is around my number. Now, there are certain people that sleep in spurts, and these are usually the super genius people of the world, the great people, the great inventors. They'll sleep for a few hours, wake up, do some work, go back to bed. I like to keep a notepad next to my bed. And I keep a notepad next to my bed. I keep in my car. I keep in my office. They're everywhere. They're sitting here in the studio with me. And I like sticky notes. Sticky notes they're sticky all the way across the back so you don't lose them when you stick them on something. And the reason is when I have an idea, I write it down, and it's out of my head. And then when I have to do whatever I'm doing, I go back and look through my sticky notes. A couple of things. Number one, once it's out of your head, you can stop worrying about it and move on to the next thought. Then you could sleep better. So if I wake up in the middle of the night and I have this thought, I'll scribble it down, go back to sleep. Most of the time, I can't read my handwriting. I have horrible handwriting to begin with, and most of the time, I can't read my own handwriting. And so that thought was wasted, but I was able to go to sleep. And so in order to get the brain to rest is we have to get it to stop running those thoughts. An easy way to do it is to journal, sticky notes, whatever works for you. If you are serious about keeping notes, what you can do is get an underwater writing tablet. They sell them at most dive shops. My office in Marietta, Georgia, is a dive shop right next door. They cost $12. What you do then is you put it in your shower. And when you have your genius ideas in the shower, how many people have genius ideas in the shower? I do. Write it down. The reason is it's a pencil, and it writes on a tablet, and it's an underwater writing tablet, and then you can keep your thoughts. In the shower, you don't have to stress out over it. So one of the ways to get the body to rest is to not stress out over these crazy thoughts, and a way to do that, very simply, is to just write things down. And that's just that simple. So that's going to help you get a lot more sleep. Now, making sleep a priority, of course, is what you need to do. And many of us don't do that. Something else comes up. You have to do this. You have to do that. Well, journaling helps a lot so that you can allow that time to be quality time just for you. Sleep apnea is another issue. What happens is with sleep apnea, in most cases that I find, and I've been in practice almost 39 years now, what most cases happen with sleep apnea, you wake up because you can't breathe. Okay? You're sleeping, and if you ever watched somebody with sleep apnea, my father used to have this, he'd lay there, and all of a sudden he'd stop breathing, and that was really freaky. And then he'd go and gasp for air. And so that's sleep apnea, and it could be caused by several things. One of the things that happens is you got a big belly. Many times people that are overweight have sleep apnea, not always. And the belly pushes the stomach up into the diaphragm. Now, the way you breathe is as you inhale, your diaphragm drops, and as you exhale, your diaphragm goes up. And that's what sucks air in the lungs and then pushes it out. That's how you breathe. The rib muscles have something to do with it too, but mainly the diaphragm. So with the diaphragm going up and down, that helps you breathe. Now, when you're standing, you have gravity as an assist, gravity assist. When you're laying down, you don't have that benefit. And so what happens is you don't have gravity pulling the diaphragm down. The stomach is actually now being pushed up, double whammy, can't breathe, you gasp for air, you wake up. Another thing that can cause sleep apnea is a pinched nerve at the fourth cervical vertebrae. The fourth cervical vertebrae is where a nerve comes out of your neck called the phrenic nerve. And the phrenic nerve goes and supplies your diaphragm. So I find sometimes when people sleep, they twist their head, they pinch the phrenic nerve, brain can't tell the diaphragm how to work properly. Many times the stomach pushing up does it as well, and they can't breathe. They wake up, they turn their head, they take the pressure off the phrenic nerve, and they can breathe again. Both of those conditions, stomach up against the diaphragm and or the phrenic nerve, respond in most cases very well to chiropractic care. Chiropractic care, we put the bones in the neck back in place, and we're able to pull the stomach down away from the diaphragm. So in both cases, very good results in many cases. So if you're having trouble sleeping, and I'll cover some other things as well, you might want to consider getting chiropractic care. And what we do is we actually take the stomach and pull it down away from the diaphragm. We physically move your stomach. Symptoms, aside from acid reflux, aside from sleep apnea, acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, scratchy throat, chronic cough. These are all signs that the stomach is pushed up against the diaphragm and acid is going up into the esophagus. Now, there are other things that can cause those symptoms too. This is the most common. And so it's quick, it's easy. There's no reason not to get these things fixed. And I've said this thousands of times. I've been in practice, like I said, a long time. I am blown away why the whole world doesn't get chiropractic care. I have no concept. I cannot, in my wildest dreams, imagine why the whole world doesn't get chiropractic care. Most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. It's great for things like this. In our office, we also do nutrition evaluations on all our patients. I don't know who does that. We're able to work on the organs. We're able to work on the spine, the nerves, the extremities, the arms, the legs, the foot, the wrist, the elbow. So if you have pain and problems in the extremities, it's a good idea to come see us as well. I've had patients seeing me for 10, 20, 30 years. Well, Dr. Joe, I didn't know you know how to adjust knees. Yeah, I taught classes on how to adjust knees and feet and ankles. And, oh, well, I've had a foot problem I never told you about because I never thought a chiropractor would do anything about feet. Wrong. 206 joints in the body, 206 bones in the body. We can adjust any one of them. So if you have a health issue, if you have pain, if you really want to get a whole wellness plan put together, you really need to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. And you can book an appointment right on our website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. So we're talking today about ways to get more energy. And it's a big issue. Everybody wants more energy. I want more energy. And so these are some of the tricks that I know that I do for myself and for my patients that work real well. Another cause of fatigue could be that you don't have enough quality food. If I were to eat double beef cheeseburger, meatball sandwich with cheese, milkshake, beer, I'd be exhausted. Because when you're hungry, you're not hungry for food, you're hungry for nutrition. And so you need to remember that you're trying to get nutrition into the body. And if you're giving up food, junk food, you're not going to get the nutrition. The other thing is saturated fats. I was talking to somebody at the radio station the other day, and she said, Dr. Joe, what do we do for depression? What's the best food to bring you out of a funk? And I said, it's not so much the best food, it's the worst food. And one of the worst foods you can eat are saturated fats, animal products. There are, like coconut oil is a saturated fat too, but it works differently than animal fats. So animal fats, they clump your red blood cells together. Red blood cells clump together, you can't carry oxygen. You can't carry oxygen, you get tired. So it's very simple. So all we have to do is get more oxygen in the body, and a simple way to do that is stay away from the saturated fats. And it's easy to understand. If you eat pizza, see how you feel. You're going to get tired. You eat cheese, meat, you're going to get tired. Then eat a salad the next day for lunch. And you can throw some quinoa in the salad or some beans or some sesame seeds or sunflower seeds and notice how you feel. You'll feel full, you'll feel happy, you'll feel light, and you'll have a lot more energy. So what you eat has a direct bearing on your energy level. Now, it could be that you're not eating enough food. That happens. But many times you're not eating enough good food. And that's the difference. You're not eating enough good food. She said, well, Doc, I eat plenty of food. I'm fat, and I don't understand why I'm tired all the time. I said, obviously, that's not my problem. No, it could be. You're just not eating the proper food. And the bad food is exhausting. It's very heavy, hard to digest. Animal proteins take a lot of energy to break down. It takes a lot of work to digest a hamburger or a steak or a spare rib. And so you're wasting a lot of energy. It doesn't take a lot of work, and it's loaded with nutrients if you eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So for no other reason to change your diet, you should do it because you're going to get a lot more energy. And it really works. I told a story on a show a while ago, but the other day somebody met me at my office, and they wanted to go out to lunch. And I usually don't go out to lunch. I usually bring my lunch with me. But I said, all right, I'll go. There's a little place right near one of my offices. It's called it's a falafel place. And if you know what falafels are fried hummus, basically. Okay, they're little balls of hummus. It's chickpeas and tahini and seasoning. And so I said, all right, the only really thing they had on the menu that was plant-based was falafel, which was fried. I usually don't eat fried foods. And I had hummus, and I had tabbouleh, and I had that. And they didn't have any bread that went with it. And boy, I got back to the office, and I was just so tired, I couldn't keep my eyes open. I was exhausted. Why was I exhausted? Because I ate the fried food. It was fried in oil. It wasn't saturated fats. But the oils clumped my red blood cells together, and I got tired. So then I had to essentially detox. I took some Super Greens and Essential Source. I did some cross-crawling, which I'll explain in a few minutes if I have time. Drank a lot of water. In about an hour or so, I got my energy back. I also took some nitric oxide, and I got my energy back. So what you eat has a direct bearing on it. So when I get tired, if I need a little boost, water is going to be a key. Super Greens and Essential Source. Folks, if you don't know what those are 2 supplements. They're 2 powders, and they taste great. I mix them together. Super Greens by itself isn't as good as mixing it with Essential Source. And Essential Source is raw fruits and vegetables, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamin. Super Greens, wheatgrass, barley grass, alfalfa grass, chlorella, spirulina, great sources of protein, also help to detoxify your liver. Most people are poisoning their livers all day, every day. Chlorella and spirulina, specifically chlorella, excellent for getting the liver to break down waste products and pass out the waste products. So I take a scoop of that. If I need an extra boost, I'll take a second scoop of both every day. Nitric oxide. Oh my gosh, that's my favorite. I'm seeing if I had any here. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessels. So when you take it, it takes about a half hour, 20 minutes to a half hour, and you get this really cool feeling of the fatigue goes away, your mind clears up. It opens up the blood vessels and increases circulation to your brain, your sex organs, your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your skin. So it's great for circulation. Now, don't take nitric oxide if you have low blood pressure. If you have normal or high blood pressure, perfectly fine. Don't take it with low blood pressure. The reason is it can lower your blood pressure even further, and that could be dangerous. So, and you don't feel good. So regular or high blood pressure, nitric oxide, Super Greens, Essential Source. I take B complex. B vitamins are really good for energy. And Dr. Joe's adrenal support. Because the adrenal glands produce energy, they produce hormones, and they produce anti-inflammatories. So, yeah, so if you take Super Greens, Essential Source, nitric oxide, B complex, and adrenal support, yeah, chances are you're going to be buzzing. You're going to feel great. You're going to have lots of energy. And it's way cheaper than a coffee at a fancy coffee shop. So you're going to save money, feel better. It's good for you. It has health benefits. No downside. Not toxic to the liver. Actually detoxifies the liver. Doesn't have things like caffeine, which can be dangerous. Coffee, by the way, is sprayed with a lot of pesticides and fungicides. So if you're going to do coffee, I recommend organic only. But I don't recommend coffee. But if you do coffee, organic only. So here you got a plan that's good for you to give you energy as opposed to something that's bad for you and more expensive. I don't think there's really a question as to which way you should go, is there? So again, Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide, B complex, and adrenal support. All those supplements are available on our website, drjoe.com. So just go to drjoe.com. You can get the supplements. We'll ship them to you. All our offices carry them. You can just pick them up at the office, save shipping costs. We work really hard to keep our prices as low as humanly possible. I've seen products like Essential Source on the market for 3 and 4 times what we charge for it. And even at that price, it's worth it. So yeah, it's really, we try to keep as low as possible. We may have to bump the prices up coming up soon because of everybody's raising their prices, but we're trying to keep the price as low as we can. So drjoe.com, great place to get the supplements. If you want to make an appointment to come see us, well, I'll cover that in a second. Hold on. All right, other causes of fatigue. Anemia, one of the leading causes of fatigue, especially in women. If a woman's getting her menstrual cycle, she could lose a lot of blood, and that can cause problems. Now, red blood cells carry oxygen to the tissues. That's how your tissues get oxygen. Now, here's the catch with anemia. In many cases, you're not anemic even if you have low iron in your blood. And the reason is this. If you're eating a good diet, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, or you're eating a bad diet, if you're eating meats and anything that has blood in it, you're going to get iron. So what happens is, many cases, people have enough iron coming in, but the iron gets tied up in the cells. And so it's not carrying oxygen. So you need to release the iron from the cells to get it into the blood to carry the oxygen. Many times, it's not an iron deficiency, it's a copper deficiency. Now, don't go out and take copper, okay, because too much copper can be dangerous. But copper deficiency can be an issue. Now, if you're eating a lot of nuts and seeds, chances are you're getting enough copper. Essential Source has some copper in it. So the iron may be in the body, but it's not being released into the blood. So how do you know? I have patients do this all the time. Went to the doctor, did my blood. I was low in iron, gave me a prescription. I started taking the iron. I felt worse. Doctor said, keep taking it. Take more. It's not an iron deficiency. It's a copper deficiency. So many times that's the issue. You could be iron deficient. Very seldom are men and postmenopausal women ever iron deficient because we don't have a way to break down iron and get it out of the body. We can break down vitamin C. We can break down vitamin B. We can break down alcohol. Iron has a tough time coming out. So what I recommend people do, and I do this on a regular basis, is I donate blood. I donate blood every 8 weeks or so, as soon as I can. I think you do every 8 weeks. As soon as after 8 weeks is, I donate it. The reason I do it is I have no way of detoxifying my iron, and when I give blood, I get to detoxify my iron. So it's another trick. Actually, it's a trick to anti-aging. And you're helping somebody out. Now, I know the Red Cross or whoever, they take it, they sell it, they make money on it. I don't care. It's not my problem. I gave them the blood. What they do with it is up to them. And it's just a good way. It's really a medicinal way for men and women to get iron out of their blood. High blood iron or high cell iron is way more dangerous than low iron. And nobody talks about that. So men and postmenopausal women, if you can, it's probably a good idea to donate blood. And they'll test your iron. They'll make sure. That's a good way to test for other things, too. I remember I knew a gal, a friend of mine, and she would always ask if she's going to go on a date. She'd ask the guy if he donates blood because it's a good way to get a free blood test. Find out if it's safe to continue on with the relationship. So just another fun thing for you. Now, those blood tests, by the way, don't test for everything. I still recommend you get an STD test, but it's a scan. How about that? So I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about ways to get energy. Why are you tired all the time? And another problem is pain. If you're in pain, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, headaches, it's exhausting. I was hit by a car when I was 10 years old. I have a traumatic brain injury, severe traumatic brain injury. That never goes away, by the way. You always have traumatic brain injury. So I have a traumatic brain injury, and when it flares up, and it still does periodically, I get really tired. I'm exhausted. So I get that. So if you're in pain, one of the best things you can do is get to a chiropractor. Chiropractic is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. And now you learned, if you tuned in earlier, shoulder pain, hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, wrist pain. My team of doctors are trained to adjust all 206 bones in the body, including the skull. So if you have pain, folks, you should start with chiropractic care. Now, if you've gone other routes, we'd love to have you anyway. So if you want to make an appointment, you can do it right online, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. We accept people with all insurances. Now, it depends what your insurance covers. We accept you. It depends what they cover. We have a lot of patients that are cash. Some people have stupid deductibles, $6,000. Now, I understand that. It's stupid. That's catastrophic. But it's pretty useless for general health care. So we have payment plans available even out for 18 months, no interest. We do everything we possibly can to make it convenient for you. So if you want to make an appointment, again, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We'd love to be your doctors. Just go to the website, drjoe.com. Also, if you're ever in a car accident, I've been in practice a long time. If the car's damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. So if the car's damaged, you're damaged. You need to come see us right away. Don't fall for these scammers that are going to call you, hey, this is Bob, and I'm calling from your insurance company. You need to go see Dr. Joe and Attorney Bob, and all scams. No one will ever call you if you're in a car accident that's legitimate and tell you to go to a doctor or a lawyer. It's a huge business out there. I wish they'd crack down on it, but right now people are getting away with it and making millions and millions of dollars. Because many times you get sent to a doctor and they do totally unnecessary treatment. Surgeries, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 surgeries that you never needed just to run up the bills. So just be careful with that. drjoe.com. We'd love to be your doctors. So if you have a health issue, digestive issues, nutrition issues, pain issues, just come see us. Biggest complaint I get, by far, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer for so long, Dr. Joe? And my answer is always, I don't know. Stop suffering, drjoe.com. Supplements, by the way, we talked about are on the website, drjoe.com. Another reason why you're tired all the time, and that's what we're talking about today. Why am I tired all the time? Another reason is depression. You think depression is an emotional disorder, but it contributes to a lot of physical symptoms as well. Fatigue, headaches, loss of appetite, some of the common symptoms. So if you feel down and depressed, we all get down and depressed, folks. I get it. You get it. It's part of being human. Sadness, another part of being human. I've talked about this in the past, that if you're sad that someone in your life died, and I had to process this when my mom passed, think how lucky you are. How lucky are you to have someone you cared about so much in your life that you miss them? I remember years ago, I was dating a gal, and we were out, group of people, and she said, oh, by the way, my father died last week. By the way, your father died last week? Yeah, he was a blank, 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 and I really don't care. How sad is that? So which is worse, missing somebody because you cared about them so much, or not missing them at all? I think not missing them at all is the worst. And so when you process your feelings, and I know it hurts. It hurt, still hurts. But you go through it and you say, wow, this was really amazing. How lucky was I to have a good parent? How lucky was I to have a good spouse or a friend or a sister or brother? So depression can be a big issue and why people are tired all the time. Now, every case I've ever seen of depression, anxiety, ADD, ADHD, even suicidal, every case I've ever seen in almost 4 decades of being in practice is that there's a digestive problem. You're not breaking down your food properly. Now, your stomach has one job, essentially, and it takes proteins, whether that protein is from a carrot or a steak, unravels it and chops it up into something called amino acids. Different amino acids do different things with the brain. Tryptophan becomes serotonin. Serotonin makes you feel good. Serotonin becomes melatonin. Tyrosine becomes dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. Glutamine becomes GABA, suppresses pain, becomes norepinephrine, gives you energy. And so every case I've ever had of depression, the brain is incapable of doing its job. And the reason, part of the reason, is that you're not giving the brain the raw materials that it needs for the brain to function normally. And so if you have depression, seek help. Seek a counselor. I support a million times over. Everyone go to counseling. But I also suggest you consider coming to see us so we can see if there's a nutritional deficiency. Pain is an issue. Digestion is an issue. And that's why we work so closely with so many counselors, because we try to get to the physical problems and the chemical problems. They then are able to work with the emotional problems and get much better results. In fact, many times they've hit walls with patients. They send them to us. We do the physical and the chemical, and the success is like off the chart. So I got to go to break, folks. Don't go anywhere. If you have any healthcare questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. Follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito, and on your podcast platforms at Dr. Joe for the health of it. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We'll be right back. How was that? It's good. You approve? You're writing down highlights? Good. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. Do you think that non-dairy chocolate milk would taste good with Essential Source and Super Greens? Like, have
I
you ever tried that?
I have never tried it because I don't do chocolate. It gives me headaches. But have you ever tried it? Okay. Well, Allison's never tried it either. So
No, it sounds like it would be good though.
let's try it. All right. Your homework. Try it and then let us know. Either send me a message through the website, drjoe.com. And if it is, we will then suggest it to the other millions of people that listen. What else?
So, if you like drinking coffee just because of the experience,
Yes.
would I still need to take adrenal support?
Well, if you're drinking coffee, the answer is yes. Okay. And for the experience, there's other things you can do. There's tea out there, which is, by the way, is cheaper than coffee. And you can try different teas. I have slippery elm tea here in front of me right now. Whenever I give a lecture, I have slippery elm tea because it helps soothe my throat, and I like the flavor. It's licoricey. But get yourself some real high-end teas. I really like good teas. I've tried cheap teas. I've tried the $2 boxes. They just don't work. So spend, instead of 5 cents, spend 20 cents. Ooh, and get some really good teas. There's also a coffee substitute called Postum, Postum. You can try that. It's not exactly like coffee, but it gives you the experience. So that might be something you can consider as well. You can also do warm apple cider. Warm apple cider is very tasty. I like that, especially if it's mulled, has seasoning in it. So that's something you might want to consider as well. But if you're doing it strictly for the experience, try something else and get away from the coffee. And you still need adrenal support. If you're over 30, you need adrenal support. What else?
So, someone said that they have heard that being deficient in vitamin D can cause depression. Is that true?
Absolutely true. 100% yes. I take 5 drops of Dr. Joe's vitamin D every day, and you should too. Okay? What else?
That's all.
That's all. Good. A lot of good questions. I know this is a pop-up. We just kind of popped it up on you guys. I said to Allison, "You want to do a podcast?" She said, "Yeah, sure." So I ran up to my studio here, and we did a podcast. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know it was at the last minute. So, all right. Where was I? Oh, there I was. Good. Okay. Okay, neurotransmitters. That's where I was. All right, good. We ready for another 24 minutes of excitement? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. If you stayed with us, thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome. Glad you could be here. As always, we try to come up with new information that you've never heard. Some of it you have, of course, to try to get you well and keep you well without drugs and surgery. So this is the alternative to drugs and surgery. Now, I'm not saying you don't need drugs and surgery. I'm saying there are alternatives that many times can be used in place of or in addition to. So understand that. I'm not against drugs. I'm not against surgery. I'm against unnecessary use of drugs and surgery. That's my approach. So we're talking today about how to get more energy. How many people want more energy? Raise your hands. Of course you do. I do too. We all want more energy. And it's so much more fun to be energetic and have your brain working really well than not. In fact, last week I was on with my friends at the Von Hessler Doctrine, and they have me on about once a week, once every other week, and we get together and banter and have fun. It's a show in Atlanta. It's an amazing show. If you never heard it, these guys are just off the chart brilliant. And Autumn, she's a girl. But these guys are amazingly brilliant, and I am honored to sit in a room with these people. And these guys are they know so much about so much, and I really like smart people. So it's a lot of fun. And at the break, Tim Andrews said, one of the guys on the show, he said, "I love the banter that we all have together, that we can just bounce off each other so fast." He says, "That's a lot of fun, and it's hard to find somebody to act on that level." And I thought the same thing. So it's kind of neat, and it's fun to get compliments on my brain. Because my brain, if somebody said, "What's your best asset?" I think it's my brain. Because I like being smart, and I like being sharp, and I'm teaching you the tricks that I do to keep my brain working the best it possibly can. So we covered several things earlier. We talked about anemia may not really be anemia. Anemia may be a copper deficiency because you're getting iron, you're just not releasing it into the system. And so that could be an issue. Depression we talked about. We talked about not eating the right foods. We talked about supplements. My supplement protocol for energy, which I take every day anyway, Super Greens, Essential Source, nitric oxide, B complex, and adrenal support. All those are on my website, drjoe.com. If you took all of them every day, it's still substantially cheaper or less expensive than drinking a fancy coffee. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing that. Again, I come up with things in my life that I think there's no reason why people shouldn't be doing these things. Why are you not doing them? It's better, quicker, cheaper, safer, faster. Why wouldn't you do it? Pain, chiropractic care. Most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. Why wouldn't you do it? I don't know. I'm confused. So anyway, supplements are great, especially when it comes to energy. And I keep them. I keep nitric oxide in my car. I keep it at my office. I keep my Super Greens and Essential Source, everything else at home. But nitric oxide is my quick go-to if I need a quick burst of energy. Now, don't take it if you have low blood pressure, only if you have higher regular blood pressure. Other reasons, and pain, of course. Pain can cause fatigue as well. Hypothyroidism. The thyroid, little gland, it's in your neck. It controls your metabolism, and that's the speed at which your body converts fuel into energy. Now, when the gland is underactive, metabolism slows down, it could be an issue. Now, a lot of people get their thyroid tested, and the thyroid test's fine. Okay? Well, does it mean the thyroid is fine? Maybe not. Because one of the things that happens with the thyroid is it needs one specific nutrient. It needs a lot of nutrients. But the one nutrient that most people don't give your thyroid that you really need is iodine. Now, if you live in Japan, chances are you're eating a lot of sea vegetables and seaweed, and so you're probably going to get enough iodine. In the United States, we get almost no iodine in our diet. The biggest source of iodine we have is salt, iodized salt. Now, if you ever thought beyond the little girl with the umbrella holding up the salt, in the salt thing, why would they put iodine, an odd nutrient, into salt? Why not put vitamin C into salt? Why not put vitamin B into salt? Because we realized years ago that people that were not near the coasts, that weren't eating anything from the sea, were severely iodine deficient, and many of them started to get what's called a goiter. Now, goiter is when the thyroid gets bigger and bigger trying to do its job. And that's why when an organ starts to get bigger, it means it's getting weaker. It's trying to get bigger and bigger to do a better job. And so they found that if they gave them some iodine, that the goiter went away, and it was a real simple fix. So they said, well, how can we get iodine across the country? What one food does everybody across the country eat? Well, there was nothing. Every different parts of the country ate different foods. Everybody ate salt. So I thought a very smart move, they went ahead and put iodine in salt, and that prevented goiters. It's not enough iodine to make your body thrive. It's just enough to make you survive. And so I don't want to survive. I want to thrive. People say, well, Dr. Joe, around the holidays or on birthdays and stuff, eat in moderation, right? Absolutely not. I don't want moderation. I want extreme health. I don't want moderate health. I want extreme health. And eating in moderation is not going to give you extreme health. But I digress. Iodine. So when I created my supplements, Super Greens and Essential Source, I tried to put everything in there that I could to make it as easy as possible to get the minimum amount of nutrients that you need. And I put iodine, in the form of sea vegetables, in Super Greens and Essential Source. The reason I did that is because I want you to thrive. I don't want your thyroid to just function. I want it to thrive. And that's where it's a lot of fun. So you can get a thyroid test. Of course, if it's bad, it'll show up. But many times, you just need some iodine in your diet. And that's another reason why you should be taking Super Greens and Essential Source every day. And they're on the website, drjoe.com. Other reasons for fatigue. Caffeine overdose. You can improve alertness and concentration with moderate amounts of caffeine. That's a standard statement. But too much can increase your heart rate, your blood pressure, and jitteriness, if that's a word. Research indicates that too much actually causes fatigue. So you want to gradually start cutting back your coffee, your tea, your chocolate, your soft drinks, and any other medications that contain caffeine. Yes, they do. Stopping suddenly can cause withdrawals. So what happens with caffeine, that you have a chemical in your brain called adenosine, and this is a little complicated, so bear with me for 30 seconds. You have a chemical in your brain called adenosine. Adenosine is released in the brain, absorbed by something called adenosine receptor sites, so it's released and then absorbed back into the brain, and it makes you tired. And that's a good thing. Caffeine looks like adenosine. So when you take caffeine, it blocks up your adenosine receptor sites. You can't absorb adenosine. So what happens is, one of the reasons you get perky from caffeine is you can't absorb the chemical that makes you tired. So your body is way smarter than you, and it says, you know what, Joe, I need to absorb this adenosine so I can get some rest. So what it does is it blocks up the adenosine receptor sites. So my body now says, I'm going to grow more adenosine receptor sites. So I start producing more adenosine receptor sites. I start getting tired again. So then the caffeine blocks it up again. You need more caffeine. So eventually your body doesn't get rest because you're not getting tired. And then your body finally just crashes. It can't function like that forever. And so too much caffeine can actually make you tired. And when you come off it, those adenosine receptor sites are used to being jam-packed with caffeine, and they're not, and you crash. And so too much caffeine can cause a lot of fatigue. So if you don't know how to come off caffeine, it's a first book I wrote called Eating Right for the Health of It. I have a chapter on this. And what you do is you put a cup of coffee in front of you, or artificial sweetener soda, whatever it is that has caffeine in it, and take 1 tablespoon every hour, not more, 1 tablespoon every hour. And what that does is it slowly helps those adenosine receptor sites to start to reboot themselves and get the body to heal. So that's a fun little trick. And I want you to come off your stimulants. You can do the supplements because there's benefits to that. But the caffeine stimulants, and of course drugs too, there's downside to it. And I don't want you to have downside. I don't want you to have upside. It's a lot more fun to have upside than to have downside, especially since there's answers to it. If there was no other way to get energy except caffeine, I'd say, well, it's the only thing we got. Well, it's not. There's way more things we can do. Supergreen, Central Source, nitric oxide, B complex, adrenal support. That's the protocol. Very simple, very easy. In fact, I should have my staff put that together, the energy bundle. I like that idea. I'm going to write that down, energy bundle. So we'll have an energy bundle, GERYBUNDLE. I think of these things, and what do I got to do? I got to write it down. We talked about that earlier. So it's so much easier to get energy. Now, another reason you're tired is because you're dehydrated. So you need to drink more water. I'm going to cover that in a little bit. But water is going to be such a key to giving you more energy. And you'll be amazed if you just started drinking 2 or 3 times, depending how bad you are, the amount of water you're drinking now. Really? That's all I needed was a glass of water to give me energy? Yeah, in a lot of cases, that's what you need. Sometimes you have infections. And infections or any health problem can be exhausting to the body. Urinary tract infections sometimes can be burning and itching. You know, if you've ever had one, they're painful. But the infection doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it may be a sign of fatigue, and a urine test will confirm that you have a urinary tract infection. So it's another reason it's a good idea to do testing. So now, chiropractic care and urinary tract infections. I made a note to cover that. The nerve supply in the low back controls your back, hips, legs, knees, and ankles. But those nerves also control your colon, your sex organs, and your bladder. So many times, if there's a problem with the colon, sex organs, and bladder, gas, diarrhea, constipation, erectile dysfunction, heavy periods, painful periods, irregular sexual function, many times it's a pinched nerve in the low back. And that nerve controls the colon, sex organs, and bladder. So just by getting the spine adjusted, in many cases, we've helped urinary tract infection patients. Now, I'm not saying don't take your drugs. That's up to you. I'm telling you alternatives. Now, there is a special adjustment. I've taught all my doctors to do it. You can actually adjust the bladder from the outside. And it takes seconds to do. And I've had countless patients over the years, men and women, that have had urinary tract infections. And we adjusted the low back and opened up the nerve supply to any organ. In this case, we're talking about the bladder. And we adjusted the bladder. The urinary tract infection got substantially better very quickly. And the biggest complaint I get when that happens is, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't somebody else tell me about this? I've been taking antibiotics for years. Why didn't somebody tell me about this? I'm telling you. I've got a whole, bag of tricks when it comes to fixing things that we can't do drugs and surgery, so I wouldn't even use drugs in surgery. So that's why I try to tell you these little tricks. So if you need to come see us, in fact, if you want to come see us, I'll put my plug in now. If you want to come see us, go to our website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can click right on the website and book an appointment. You can call us to book an appointment. We have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. There's no reason why you should be suffering. You, your family, your friends, your children. Why would you be suffering if you have an answer? I'm giving you the answer. So if you continue having health problems, and then you come see us and you get better, don't be mad at us. Don't be mad at yourself. Well, be mad at yourself. I don't care about that. I care about being mad at us. Every day, patients come in mad at themselves. Every day. Why didn't I do this sooner? People tell me all the time, I should have went to come see you guys. I just never did. I've been listening to you, Dr. Joe, for 30 years, 35 years. I heard you give a talk when you were still in college. What are you waiting for? drjoe.com, make an appointment. We accept people with all insurances. Now, it depends what your insurance covers, but we accept you. We accept cash patients. It's relatively inexpensive to be a patient with us. If you're ever in a car accident, if the car's damaged, you're damaged. You need to come see us immediately. So if the car's damaged, you're damaged. You can make an appointment. We can usually get you in within 24 hours to one of our offices. So drjoe.com, make an appointment. Any questions you have, send them to me through the website. I'm happy to answer your questions for you. There's a little bot that pops up where it says contact us. Either way, happy to give you our advice, drjoe.com. We'd love to be your doctors, though. We want to get you well and keep you well. Other reasons why you're tired all the time. Diabetes. When I first got in practice, I very seldom saw diabetic patients, high blood pressure medication patients, kidney failure patients. Very seldom saw that. Now, I see them on a daily basis. Number one medication people take is high blood pressure. Number two, diabetes or cholesterol. They might be tied. And so there are things that you can do naturally to try to resolve these issues. Now, I'm not saying I have a cure for them. I'm saying, why don't you try this along with what you're doing right now to see if I'm right? And if I'm wrong, so what? I'm wrong. I blew it. But if you go to our website, drjoe.com, let's say diabetes, type the word diabetes in the search bar. Listen to the show we did on diabetes. Try those things. It's real simple. Most cases of type 2 diabetes are preventable. Almost all of them are preventable. Most of them are manageable. And many of them are reversible through diet. Wow. How easy is that? Now, you have to make a commitment. You have to say, I'm going to do this. I'm happy to coach you. Don't come off your medication. Stay with us, and we'll get you through this. And my goal is to get you well enough so you don't need the medication. I can't take you off your meds. I just want to get you well enough so you don't need them anymore. But especially with type 2 diabetes, just go to the website, listen to the show we did on diabetes. Little search bar up there. We have over 3,000 hours of podcasts on the website. Absolutely no reason why you shouldn't find some help for whatever issue you have. And if you still can't find the answer, send me an email. The best thing you can do for your health, for your friends, your family, in most cases, book an appointment to come see us. Do what we say. Most treatment plans in our offices are about 10 weeks. That's not every day. But we coach you on getting the spine well, getting the digestive system well, get your diet straightened out. We coach you on all these things. I don't know why you're not a patient. drjoe.com. We talked earlier about water. And in many cases, you just need more water. You're dehydrated. So fatigue can be a sign of dehydration. So if you're working out, you're sitting at a desk job, if you're a parent, if you're nursing, if you're a child, you might be drinking throughout the day, but you're drinking things like coffee, which is a diuretic. You're drinking tea, diuretic, soda, diuretic. These things make you pee. So even though you're drinking it, you actually got to replace, I would say for every drink you have 3 glasses of water just to make a break even. So you got to make sure you get enough water in your body. Now, tap water is free, essentially free. But many times it has things like chlorine, fluorine. It can have waste products from medicines. So let's assume somebody's taking birth control pills, high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol medication. A lot of that is broken down and passed out in your urine. So the filters that we have, we recycle sewer water, just so you know that, in case you didn't know that. A lot of the water you're drinking is recycled sewer water. They filter it out, and they make it clean and safe. But there aren't filters for high blood pressure medication or birth control or cholesterol. And so when you're drinking it, there's a very good chance you're getting very, very, very small amounts of these drugs. But you're getting them every day, and they can be cumulative. And so that's why I have a whole house water filter at my house. It wasn't cheap. It was about $2,000, I think, maybe a little more. But it filters every drop of water. If I drink, if I bathe, if I shower, if I wash my vegetables, if I boil something, the water I know coming out of my faucets is pure. And so the company, somebody's going to ask me, I use purelifewaterga.com, purelifewaterga.com. They did a good job for me. I was very happy in the research I did. And so if you call, tell them I sent you. But there are good water filters out there. I just did the research for you. But diabetes can be an issue. Dehydration can be an issue. Heart disease can be an issue. If you get tired really quickly, if your legs start to swell. I know a friend of mine, he smokes, doesn't have a good diet, and he got an infection. Don't know if it was COVID or not, but his legs started to swell. And I got really scared for him because he's middle-aged, slightly overweight, horrible diet, smoker, classic signs of what's called heart failure. Now, heart failure doesn't mean you're going to die right away, but it means the heart isn't working as well as it should. When I start seeing swelling in the ankles, I know it's a heart issue, almost always. So just be careful about that. That's why it's a good idea to get your medical doctor to do a checkup on you and find out. Other reasons why you might be tired all the time. You work a weird shift. I'm in radio, television sometimes. These poor people get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, show up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're exhausted. And I remember I told this story a while ago. I was at the station, and people, 4 newscasters said to me, where do you get your energy from? You're older than us. Where do you get your energy from? And so I told them about nitric oxide. And so I brought in a bottle for each of them. And I just gave it to them. And they, a couple of days later, I ran into one of the girls. And she came running up to me. And she goes, oh, my God. She goes, what is in that stuff? It is amazing. And it says take 4 a day. I say start with 1, then 2 the next day, 3 the next day, and 4 the next day. 4 could be a bit much for some people. She says, for the first time in my entire career, I don't have brain fog. My reports are so much clearer. And she reports the news, kind of important. She goes, I go home, I go to sleep. I'm not buzzing afterwards from coffee. She goes, unbelievable. Thank you for that. So again, if you're just tuning in, my package, my energy package, is Super Greens, Essential Source, Nitric Oxide, B-Complex, and Adrenal Support. If you have low blood pressure, don't take nitric oxide. But that's what I take every day. And if I need an extra boost, I'll take another nitric oxide, or I take another dose of Super Greens and Essential Source. So pretty crazy. And if you work in a night shift or shift work, that might work real well. Food allergies can cause it. Of course, I say stay away from the worst foods are usually the hyperallergenic foods. Alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. If you're new to the show, you just said, Dr. Joe, that's my whole diet. All I ever eat is alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. Yeah, I know. Go to my website, drjoe.com, type these words in. So what can I eat? Type in a search bar. So what can I eat? And I tell you right there, it's free. Breakfast, lunches, dinner, snacks, parties, holidays, raising kids, to have in the house, unstock your pantry. It's all there. So what can I eat? And it kind of lays it out for you. Really, really simple. So food allergies are a big one. Now, you can have food allergies to peanuts. You can have food allergies to a lot of things. I can't do caffeine. It gives me a headache. So food allergy can be an issue. We do a test here in the office, and it's a very thorough test to see if you have reactions to certain foods. And we can go up to 100 and I think it's 140 or 180 different foods. So if you ever want to do an allergy test, we'd love to do that for you. So just prick your finger and do a little blood sample. But it's really cool to find out what you're allergic to. And then many times, once you calm down your immune system, you're able to reintroduce these foods again, or certainly some of them. So finding out what it is really important. Knowing is most of the battle. And so if you ever want a food allergy test, just let my office know. We can get that to you. We can even mail it to you if you want to. You can do it yourself. Prick your own finger or so. There's a condition called chronic fatigue syndrome. And fibromyalgia is another one. Now, for years, doctors said it's all in your head. You're crazy. You're hysterical. Fibromyalgia is a diagnosis by exclusion. What does that mean? We tested everything else. You ain't got it. Anything else, so it must be fibromyalgia. Now, there are certain trigger points, your elbow, your shoulders. There are certain trigger points we can push on, and if you're tender there, along with all these other negative tests, we can say, yes, it's fibromyalgia by exclusion. I've had patients with fibromyalgia come to me many, many times on the brink of ready to kill themselves. Dr. Joe, this is so bad, I think I want to kill myself. I can't live like this. There's no drug that helps me. If I take drugs, I can't move. I'm willing to take my own life. That's how bad this stuff is. And through chiropractic care and nutrition and getting a digestive system, I've never, now you might be the first one, but I've never had anyone not respond amazingly to getting the chiropractic, nutrition, and digestive system work being done. And many, many times over the years, people have come to me and said, you saved my life. I mean, it happens on a regular basis, actually. You saved my life. I've been to all these other doctors. I've tried everything else. I've had chronic pain. I've had digestive issues. I've had horrible menstrual cramps, whatever, urinary issues. And Dr. Joe, I was at my wit's end. There was nothing else I can do. You saved my life. Thank you. So it's kind of cool. It's one of the reasons I wake up in the morning, and that is one of the reasons why I have so much energy. I love what I do. and I love sharing this information with you. So if you'd like to become a patient, and we'd love to have you as a patient, go to my website, drjoe.com, book an appointment right online. We care about you. We really want to get you well and keep you well. And I'm heartbroken for many of you because you've spent so much money and you've just went from doctor to doctor to doctor, didn't get the results you need. Now, I'm not saying medicine is wrong, please, but very few doctors are trained in the things that we do at the level that we do it at with so many different things. So we would love the opportunity to be your doctors. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We accept people with all insurances. It depends what your insurance covers, but we accept you. Cash patients, Medicare patients, Ambetter patients, car accidents. Please, folks, if you're in a car accident, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. And pain can have up to 6 months to show up after an accident. I promise you, if you try to stake a claim on a car accident 6 months after it happened, you're going to get laughed at. The biggest thing the insurance companies do is say, you got to go to the doctor right away, or else you weren't hurt, and we're going to deny your claim. See it all the time. So don't wait. Please come see us, drjoe.com. We can get you an appointment usually the next day or the same day, many times, at one of our offices, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Any questions you have, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer them for you. Follow us on social media. My handle is at Dr. Joe Esposito, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And if you're a podcast junkie, it's Dr. Joe for the health of it. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Catch you next time. All right. Had a good idea when you were gone. Had to write it down. I'm talking to Allison, by the way. She's behind the camera. You guys were here. So, all right. Any questions?
Yes. So someone wanted to know what you take every day.
What do I take every day? That's a great question, actually. I take Super Greens and Essential Source. Let me see if I can get them all right now. I have all the bottles laid out. Nitric oxide, B-complex, adrenal support, estrogen regulator, because I want my testosterone not to convert into estrogen, men's hormone support, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D. I take something called Tongkat LE. Now, that's from Standard Process, and that helps build testosterone in my body, and it works really well. So I have a whole male protocol. If you want to, just send me an email. I'll send you the protocol for the men's testosterone. Am I covering everything? Adrenal, omegas. That might be it. Okay, there might probably one or two other ones in there too. I have all my bottles laid out, and then I have to do it. But if you're looking just for the starter kit, Super Green Essential Source, vitamin D, adrenal support, B-complex, nitric oxide. That's what I'd say you start with. And then we can do a custom plan specifically for you. I get myself tested all the time, and I'm always moving and shaking to see what I need to change. But those are the standards. What else?
What is the most common food allergy that you see when people get tested?
Pineapple is big. Wheat is huge. But the number one of all of them is dairy, by far. Dairy's number one. Wheat's number two. So cut out the wheat and the dairy. They're not good for you anyway, so just cut them out. Much better life without them. So, what else?
That's all.
Okay, great, guys. Thanks for joining us on the pop-up. Next, we may have another pop-up in the next couple of days, too, so just keep monitoring social media. We'll do a pop-up, and we'll invite you as well. Tell your friends about the show. Follow us on all platforms at Dr. Joe Esposito, and I will see, well, you'll see me next time we do a lecture.